Welcome back to the Emma International Deep Dive, where we explore the strategies, trends, and insights shaping the world of life science.
Today, we're diving into a topic that's becoming more important than ever for companies in pharmaceuticals, biotech, and medical devices: competitive intelligence.
Now, when most people hear competitive intelligence, they think of basic market research or tracking what the competition is doing. But in the highly regulated life sciences space, it is much more than that. It's about real time insight into your competitors' strategies, their regulatory moves, their product pipelines, and even how they're approaching innovation.
Exactly, and that insight can be the difference between leading the market and scrambling to keep up. The reality is, the global life sciences landscape is moving fast. Regulatory frameworks are evolving, new technologies are emerging, and market dynamics can shift almost overnight.
And unlike in consumer industries, where trends can be visible months in advance through advertising or retail activity, in life sciences, the signals are often buried in regulatory filings, obscure clinical trial updates, or small shifts in manufacturing capacity. If you're not tuned in, you can miss them entirely. And by the time you notice, it could be too late.
Competitive intelligence isn't about spying. It's about understanding the landscape so you can make better, faster, and more informed decisions. Here at Emma International, we've built a competitive intelligence service designed specifically for FDA regulated industries. So the intelligence we provide is not only accurate, but actionable.
Let's talk about why this matters. Imagine you're preparing for a new product launch. You've spent years in development, invested millions in trials, and you're finally getting close to submission. But if a competitor is just a few months ahead of you and you don't know it, you could be walking into a market where the dynamics are completely different than you expected.
Right. Or maybe you're operating in a crowded therapeutic area. Without competitive intelligence, you might miss an opportunity to differentiate your product. Or you might underestimate how aggressive another company's pricing or distribution strategy will be.
We've seen this happen in real world cases. A company may design its go to market strategy, assuming it will be first in class, only to discover too late that a competitor has already filed a 510(k) or NDA and is securing key distribution contracts. The result? Months or years of work undercut by a missed signal.
Our CI work goes way beyond surface level data aggregation. We're not just pulling numbers from public databases. We're combining multiple intelligence streams, analyzing them through a regulatory and technical lens, and then mapping out exactly what that means for your strategy.
Take regulatory intelligence, for example. We can map the global regulatory landscape, tracking changes at the FDA, EMA, MHRA, TGA, WHO prequalification program, and even key low and middle income country agencies. That means our clients don't just react to changes, they anticipate them.
And it's not just about regulations in the abstract. We also do competitor filing intelligence, looking at things like 510K, PMA, NDA, ANDA, and IND submissions. Sometimes that means digging through FOIA requests, Health Canada filings, EU databases, even local registries. It's a way of seeing what's coming down the pipeline from your competitors before it hits the market.
Exactly. We also keep a close eye on inspection and enforcement activity, FDA
483s.
Zrania warning letters, consent decrees. Those documents can be a goldmine for understanding where the industry is running into trouble and where competitors may be vulnerable.
And it's not just regulatory intel. Our CI also covers clinical and pipeline intelligence, things like benchmarking trial designs, endpoints, site selection, and timelines across clinicaltrials.gov, EUCTR, and other registries. We can see which companies are testing what, where they're testing it, and how their strategies are evolving.
That's huge for companies in emerging therapeutic spaces or novel device categories because you can see not just the innovation itself, but the regulatory and clinical strategies behind it.
We also track innovation pipelines and next-generation delivery systems, biosimilars, cell and gene therapies, platform technologies. This kind of forward looking intelligence can help you decide whether to pivot your own development, speed up certain programs, or explore partnerships before the competition gets there.
And here's the thing. So, in many cases, it's not just about spotting threats, it's about spotting opportunities. Maybe a competitor is abandoning a certain product line or delaying a trial, opening up a window for you to move in faster. Those moments can define market success, but only if you know about them in time to act.
Then there's the market and commercial intelligence side, understanding the competitive landscape across therapeutic areas and device classifications, monitoring product launches, market access strategies, pricing models, partnerships, and regional expansions.
And we map key opinion leaders and thought leaders, the people whose voices can influence regulatory decisions, clinical adoption, or payer coverage. Knowing who's shaping the conversation in your space can give you a huge advantage.
The bottom line is competitive intelligence is not about collecting everything. It's about collecting the right things and then turning that information into action. That's where our deep expertise in regulatory strategy, technical requirements, and industry specific challenges really comes into play.
Because when you have insight without context, it's just noise. But when you have insight that's analyzed and applied to your exact situation, that's when you get a competitive edge.
And one of the biggest advantages of doing competitive intelligence in the life sciences space is that you can connect the dots between seemingly unrelated pieces of information.
For example, a competitor might quietly expand manufacturing capacity in a certain region. On its own, that's just an interesting fact. But if you combine that with recently filed regulatory submissions, a spike in clinical trial activity in that same therapeutic area, and a sudden uptick in hiring for commercial roles, you can predict a product launch well before it's officially announced.
That's the power of a well structured CI program. It's about connecting those signals early enough that you can adjust your strategy, whether that's accelerating your own launch, adjusting your market entry, or even developing counter messaging to protect your position.
Exactly. And while public sources are a big part of it, a lot of the value comes from knowing where to look and how to interpret what you find. At Emma International, we leverage a combination of regulatory databases, clinical registries, FOIA requests, enforcement reports, investor calls, and even local language media monitoring to capture insights that most companies would never see.
And it's not just about gathering information, it's about filtering it. If you collect everything, you'll drown in data. That's why our team focuses on filtering for relevance, credibility, and strategic impact. Every piece of intelligence we deliver is tied to a specific question or decision our client needs to make.
Let's talk about a real world application. Say you're considering entering a new therapeutic space. We might start with a competitive landscape assessment, mapping out who the players are, what products they have in the pipeline, what stage of development they're in, and how they're positioning themselves.
From there, we might layer in regulatory intelligence, looking at how those companies have approached submissions, what pathways they've used, and whether they've faced regulatory challenges. Then we'd add market intelligence, things like pricing models, reimbursement approvals, and key partnerships that could affect your competitive position.
By the end, you're not just looking at a snapshot of the market, you're holding a blueprint for how to enter it strategically.
Right, and that's a huge difference from traditional market research. Market research might tell you where the market is today. Competitive intelligence tells you where it's going and how you can get ahead of it.
Another example is in M&A diligence. If you're considering acquiring a company, you want to know more than just their financials. You want to know if they've had past regulatory trouble, whether their trial designs have been competitive, how quickly they move products through development, and whether they have any vulnerabilities you'd be inheriting.
Exactly. And that's where we've seen our clients really benefit. A strong CI process can flag hidden risks before they turn into expensive mistakes. It can also surface hidden strengths, like an overlooked patent position or an underutilized technology, that could make a deal far more valuable than it appears on paper.
And when it comes to product launches, CI can give you a critical edge. We monitor competitor launches down to the details, what distribution channels they're using, which KOLs they're engaging, how they're pricing in different regions, and even the timing of their promotional campaigns. That allows our clients to anticipate competitor moves and respond faster.
The other piece of this is risk management. In regulated industries, competitive intelligence can serve as an early warning system. Maybe a new entrant is testing a disruptive technology. Maybe a regulator is tightening requirements in a market you depend on. Maybe there's a shift in payer coverage that will impact your sales model. With the right CI processes, you can identify these risks early and build mitigation strategies before they hit.
And what's important is that this isn't just for the biggest players in the industry. Smaller and mid sized companies can benefit just as much, sometimes more, because they can pivot faster once they have the right information. The difference is having a process and a partner who can tailor it to your size, resources, and goals.
That's why we customize every CI engagement at Emma International. We don't believe in cookie cutter reports. Instead, we start by understanding your strategic priorities. Are you preparing for a launch, defending market share, entering a new region, or evaluating a partnership? Then we design the intelligence gathering and analysis specifically to support those goals.
And because our team includes former FDA reviewers, regulatory strategists, clinical operations experts, and data scientists, we're able to go beyond simply telling you what is happening. We explain the why and, more importantly, the what now.
And that what now is where the value really comes in. Intelligence without a plan is just information. But when you pair insight with a clear, actionable strategy, you're not just reacting to the market, you're shaping it.
So, whether it's helping a medical device manufacturer anticipate competitor filings, guiding a biotech through a crowded trial landscape, or advising a pharma company on how to defend its market position against biosimilars, competitive intelligence gives you the power to move with purpose.
At Emma International, we believe that's the key to staying not just compliant, but competitive. And ultimately ahead of the curve in an industry where standing still means falling behind.
One thing we've noticed when we introduce competitive intelligence to new clients is that there are a few common misconceptions about what it actually is and isn't.
The first big misconception is that CI is just keeping tabs on your competitors. In reality, it's much broader. Yes, understanding competitor activity is part of it, but true competitive intelligence looks at the entire ecosystem: regulators, suppliers, technology shifts, clinical adoption patterns, even patient and provider sentiment. In the life sciences space, all of these factors can influence your market position just as much as a competitor's next move.
The second misconception is that CI is only for large global companies with big budgets. In our experience, smaller organizations can get an even greater return on investment. Why? Because they're often more agile. When they see a market shift or an emerging opportunity, they can move quickly. And that speed can be a decisive competitive advantage.
The third is that CI is something you do occasionally, maybe once a year before a strategy meeting. But the reality is, in today's market, intelligence has a shelf life. The competitive landscape can change dramatically in just a few months, sometimes even weeks. That's why we approach CI as a continuous process, with regular updates and ongoing monitoring so our clients are never caught off guard.
Exactly. And that never caught off guard factor is really important. Let's say you're running a phase 3 trial and a competitor suddenly announces positive phase 2 results for a similar product. If you find out about it late, you might miss the opportunity to adjust your trial design, shift your messaging, or even explore a co development strategy. But if you have that intelligence early, you can respond in ways that protect and even strengthen your market position.
And here's the thing: competitive intelligence doesn't just help you react to change, it also helps you spot opportunities that others haven't seen yet. Maybe you identify a therapeutic niche that's getting attention in early stage research but hasn't yet been targeted by a commercial program. Or maybe you notice that regulatory agencies are signaling openness to a new type of delivery system. If you're ahead of that curve, you can be the one defining the space instead of trying to catch up.
That's why our CI programs are built around turning insight into action. Every deliverable we produce, whether it's a regulatory heat map, a competitor pipeline profile, or a launch surveillance report, comes with clear recommendations for next steps. We want our clients to know not just what's happening, but what they can do about it.
Let's talk briefly about how we actually implement CI inside a client's organization. It's not just about producing a report and handing it over. We help integrate intelligence into strategic decision-making processes. That might mean joining quarterly portfolio reviews, participating in launch readiness meetings, or providing live intelligence briefings when something significant happens in the market.
And because we operate in FDA regulated industries, we know that compliance, confidentiality, and ethics aren't just nice to have, they're non negotiable. Every CI engagement we run is built on ethical intelligence gathering practices, strict confidentiality, and a deep respect for proprietary information. That's how we ensure not only that the intelligence is useful, but that it's gathered in a way that can withstand scrutiny.
One of the most rewarding parts of this work is seeing the transformation in how companies operate once CI becomes part of their culture. Suddenly, decisions are being made with a clearer understanding of the landscape. Risks are being managed before they escalate. Opportunities are being captured earlier, and the entire organization becomes more proactive, more strategic, and ultimately more competitive.
And for many of our clients, this isn't just about winning in the short term. Like, it's about building resilience for the future. In an industry where regulations, technologies, and markets are constantly evolving, resilience is what allows you to adapt without losing momentum.
That's really the heart of Emma International's approach. We're not here to overwhelm you with data. We're here to give you clarity, context, and a path forward. Whether you're launching a new therapy, defending your market share, or entering a completely new region, competitive intelligence gives you the foresight to make those moves with confidence.
So, if your organization hasn't yet built CI into its strategic planning, or if you have, but you're looking for deeper insight and more actionable outcomes, now is the time to act. The companies that thrive in the next decade of life sciences will be the ones that understand their environment better than anyone else and who can translate that understanding into decisive strategic action.
Visit emmainternational.com to learn more about our competitive intelligence services, explore case studies, and connect with our experts for a confidential consultation. And if you've enjoyed this episode, subscribe to the Emma International Deep Dive, wherever you get your podcasts, so you don't miss future discussions on the trends and strategies shaping our industry.
Because at the end of the day, success in life sciences isn't just about having the best product. It's about knowing the game you're playing and playing it better than anyone else. And that's exactly what competitive intelligence helps you do.
And as always, stay safe, stay compliant, and stay innovative.